This is Speaking of Pets podcast, where we offer you up-to-date, science-based, accurate information.
Oh, Gizmo!
Good kitty. You're such a good kitty.
And they're looking up and howling in unison.
If it affects pets, we'll talk about it. The Speaking of Pets podcast is sponsored by Blue Buffalo Veterinary Diets. Love them like family, feed them like family. And Vetramax Veterinary Supply. Vetramax makes it better. Hey everyone, welcome to Speaking of Pets. I'm Dr. Alice Novotny-Jerome, a board-certified veterinary dermatologist, and
I'm Janet Novotny-King. I'm the doctor's sister, and I am not medically anything. Welcome to the show, and who do we have today, Alice?
we have Canine Companions, and I'm so excited to talk to Adam Goldman and Jen Haynes-Smith. I mean, I was telling you earlier, Janet, that I watched the graduation ceremony, and I got all teary-eyed. I mean, the things, we've talked so much about the human-animal bond, and the things that these dogs can do for us as humans is just amazing. So, Adam and Jen, we have so many questions, not only about the whole program, but how many dogs make it through, how many don't,
how many humans don't.
Labs, do you do Goldens? So Janet, where do you want to start?
Okay, so give us, one of y'all, give us a history and overview of Canine Companions. That would be great.
Sure, I can take that. So we are Canine Companions. We are a national nonprofit founded in 1975, and actually we're celebrating 50 years this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you, yeah. So we are a national nonprofit that provides service dogs to people with disabilities free of charge. That is our mission. So
Wow.
We've been around for almost 50 years. In our history, we've placed 8,200 recipients with dogs.
Wow. Wow.
And this is nationwide, isn't it, Adam?
Correct. So Jen and I are actually in the southeast region of Canine Companions. So as a national nonprofit, we have 6 facilities that act as training centers, dorm rooms, and kennels for our dogs. So we are in the southeast region. So all of our dogs and all of our recipients who get the dogs come from Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, Mississippi, and Tennessee.
Wow.
So you serve a big area,
what's in the
too, then.
dorms? So that's when your clients come and train? Is that where the clients stay? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we do this thing called team training. So we do a team training once a quarter, and we invite our recipients to come in to stay with us for 2 weeks while they learn all the tasks that the dogs know and perform, and to basically go home and help them to live independent lives.
Wow.
How long do they stay for this? Because first the dog goes with like a foster puppy parent for training, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's the process?
Sure.
I'm a puppy.
Oh, you're a puppy, yeah. Well, so if you're a puppy, then you are either a golden retriever, a lab, or a cross of the two.
Okay.
Those are all the, we breed specifically those breeds of dogs for our program. And they're all born in our headquarters in California. And then they are shipped to shipped to our regions, where we have volunteer puppy raisers who pick them up and raise them for the first year and a half. And they're teaching them, socializations, getting them out in public, basic tasks and things like that. And then the puppy raisers turn them back to our campus, where they're in professional training for another 6 to 8 months while they enhance all those tasks. And then we invite our graduates in to match the dogs, where they stay with us for 2 weeks while they basically learn all the tasks that the dogs were taught, so they can take them home and live independent lives. And then we do a big graduation ceremony for them at the end.
So that dog at that point is like 2.5 or 3, right? Wow.
So Jen, I read that you were involved in some of the training, correct?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So I started my career out in California and worked at 2 of the campuses out there, and then now part of the Southeast region. Mm-hmm.
Where are the campuses in California?
There's one in Santa Rosa, that's headquarters. That's the northern part, Sonoma County.
Yep.
And then we also have a campus in Oceanside, which is about 30 miles north of San Diego.
Wow.
Oh, cool. So my question is, as a veterinarian, I had a veteran who had PTSD, and he had a service dog. It was a giant schnauzer. Do you know ahead of time, when you're training a dog, what function that dog needs to do? I mean, is it kind of pre-matched?
Yeah, that's a great question. So all of the dogs, when they turn in to professional training, start in the same on the same track. And so the trainers would get to know the dogs as individuals, look at their strengths and their weaknesses, look at their tendencies. And so usually we'll train for about 6 months, so 2 semesters for each dog. And as we're winding down the first semester, then trainers will start to identify, is this dog really well suited for the PTSD track? Would they be better as a hearing dog?
Okay.
Would they be better in a professional setting, whether a school or a medical environment? And then that second semester, we can kind of fine tune the skill set. And then going into a team training class, we never pre-match the dogs. We know a lot about the dogs ahead of time. We know a lot about the people ahead of time.
Okay.
But I always say there's just something about seeing them in person
I bet.
together to look at those matches. And so we might have an idea. Maybe there's 3 or 4 dogs that could work with Alice. There's 3 or 4 dogs that could work with Janet. And then after a few days of class, we'll narrow it down and then say, this is the one dog that we want you to continue working with exclusively and make that match.
So what's a typical
It's
day
like a dating website.
No, but what's the day like for this training for a dog? Do you know when the dog
Yeah, so-
comes back to your facility, what's he doing all day or she doing all day? It must be
Yeah, so
exhausting.
each trainer will have, we call it a string of dogs. So they could have anywhere from 5 to 10 or 12 dogs.
Okay, hang
that
on.
they're
I can barely
responsible with.
train one golden retriever right now.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's
a
a
lot.
lot for the trainers to be focused on. But you have to remember, for each dog, they're only working in short durations for a training session, especially at the very beginning. You know, you just from a trainer's background and standpoint, you don't want to have, a 20 or 30-minute training session. That's just too much for any dog. That's too much for the person.
Yeah.
And so you might have short training sessions with each dog and do a few cycles. So the dogs stay here on campus. They live in our kennels during that time. And so when a trainer arrives, they might start their day with taking the dogs out to run. So we have a play yard area, and it literally has playground equipment and dog toys, and they'll run that string of dogs together. So again, it could be 5, 10, 12 dogs. And that's great for their exercise, their mental well-being. It's a chance for trainers to just check in with the dog. They build a rapport with each dog and get to know them as an individual. And then they might come over to our training building, and let's say a trainer has 5 dogs that they're responsible for. And so they might work with dog 1, and the other 4 are on dog beds around the training building. And then they will swap out, put dog 1 away, bring out dog 2, and train with them for a few minutes, and then continue the cycle. So the dogs spend a lot of time in our training building. We have beds for them to be comfortable on, and they are watching the other trainers, watching the other dogs. So then it gets to be really fun to see the dogs pick up on things and learn from watching the other dogs being trained. And then, of course, we have time on campus, and we'll also go to key areas around campus. So we'll go out in public and practice at the hardware store. Out in public, we'll take a ferry or a bus ride and practice with the dog in real world settings to make sure that they're confident and they're comfortable in a variety of settings.
Wow.
That is so cool, Janet.
I know. And the first thing they do is they get their yayas out. They go for that run
During
in
the play.
morning. That's why they do that. I get it. With toddlers, same thing. Go get it. Get it out.
You know
Yeah.
what I was impressed when I was watching the graduation ceremony, that some of these, are they called the puppy raisers?
Yes.
That have done it like for 12 years. That's amazing to me. They must be good at it.
Yeah, we have a lot of puppy racers that are on multiple puppies through. We have some that are well into their 20s, almost 30 dogs over the course of the past several decades. And a lot of people who they'll turn in one puppy and be right at it again and pick up another dog to train. And they really are the heartbeat of the organization. They invest their own time and resources to love this dog, care for them in their home, and set them up for college, if you will, professional
say
training
that
here on
too,
campus.
yes. Now, do the puppy raisers have other pets too? Or is this the only
I
child?
bet they do.
They could. Yeah, we have puppy raisers who have pet dogs at home. They might have cats. They might have horses. We do a lengthy application process just to get to know everyone And so we would assess that, look at the temperaments or the behaviors of any other pets at home, just to make sure that it's not going to impede the service dog's ability to do their job and do training. But most times it works out great, and then the dog is well socialized with other pets. Our graduates may also have pets in the home, so it can work out really well.
So who names the dogs? Because that's a big job. And I'm assuming they don't change the name.
No, we try to keep the names. And Adam, I'll let you join in on this too. But we do have a list. There's a few rules, if you will, like the name shouldn't be overly complicated. It shouldn't rhyme with a cue or a command that we're asking the dog to do, things like that. But each litter has a letter. So there's the A litter, and all of those puppies' names start with A.
Like hurricanes.
And then the B litter. Yeah, exactly. C litters, D
So
litter.
our cat, Atticus Catechus, wouldn't happen. See? Couldn't, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then ideally we would have just one dog with that name that is actively working, again, to avoid confusion across the organization. But there is also opportunity for people to name the dogs and have that be a key part of our philanthropy team. So I'll let Adam answer that part of the question, how someone might go about being involved in naming a dog.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's different, kind of what Jen is saying, different philanthropic opportunities to name dogs within our organization through fundraisers or just personal donations as well.
Hey, did you know that Blue Buffalo makes prescription diets that are formulated by animal nutritionists and veterinarians? And they're used for dietary needs such as kidney support, gastrointestinal support, weight management, and our favorite, allergy and skin problems.
They make a food allergic diet that's an alligator based called NP or a hydrolyzed salmon based for dogs and cats called HF.
So please ask your veterinarian about Blue Buffalo prescription diets.
Now there's soothing relief for your pet's irritated skin from allergic response, contact allergens, and insect bites. Atopicreme HC by Vetramax is a unique anti-inflammatory, rehydrating, leave-on lotion conditioner for animals that is quickly absorbed, providing sustained benefits while leaving no residue. Fortified with ceramides, these lipids help restore the skin's natural protective barrier and aid in healthy skin regeneration for your pet. Atopicreme HC is made in the USA and not only provides quick relief for irritated skin, but it's also an aid in detangling your animal's coat. Ask your distributor about Vetramax products. Vetramax makes it better. How did this all get started? I mean, did you get a big grant for this? This is a huge project for a nonprofit. And Janet was head of a nonprofit before she retired, so I learned a little bit about that. But where and how did this first start?
Yeah, so basically, the Canine Companions founder really kind of was studying just other animals and was traveling abroad, different countries, and kind of just seeing how, other countries were using animals, primarily monkeys, in just different environments and things for people with disabilities. So we really created kind of the concept of a service dog and things like that. So it was really that first step of, coming back to the States and really trying to get service dog rights and accessibilities for people. And basically just that, her seeing these dogs in other countries and environments really kind of kickstarted Canine Companion.
So if I'm someone in need of a canine companion, what's the process? How does it work?
Yeah, so there's an application process. You would first go to our website. It's canine.org, and that's all spelled out, CANINE.org. And then click on Service Dogs, and then click Is a Dog Right for You? And that page has a lot of information about the application process, the types of skills that we train, the types of dogs that we work with. So you would read through that information. Then you could submit a request for an application where you tell us a little bit about yourself, what your needs are, what skills you're looking for. There is a formal application to fill out, and then there's a phone interview, reference forms, and then a personal interview at our campus, so one of those 6 regional training centers. And if you go through all of those steps and were approved as a candidate, there would be a wait time to then come back for that 2-week class where you would be partnered with the dog. So all in all, it could be anywhere from a year to 2 years that you are going through the application process, or you are a candidate waiting for just the right match and that invitation to come to team training.
Wow. That's
Well,
really,
two things. One, the website is fabulous. The FAQs.
It is.
You know, I mean, it was so helpful when I was reading that. When the person then gets awarded a dog, do you guys cover the veterinary care, or is that up to the person that gets the dog?
Yeah, so for Canine Companions, there's not a cost to apply for the program or to receive the dog, but the graduate would be responsible for the ongoing cost of maintaining the dog. So veterinary expenses, food, training supplies, grooming supplies. And then we also have a partnership with VCA hospitals where they could receive discounts and be part of that service. We also have funding if someone experienced an unexpected expense, or needed critical medical attention for the dog. We say we're always going to do right by our dogs and assist if needed. But generally, yes, the graduate would take on those costs of maintaining the dog just as they would a pet dog in their home.
so
go
ahead.
Janet, remember we had on Dr. Emily Rothstein, who's a colleague of mine. She's a fellow veterinary dermatologist, and she adopted a dropout. I know that
Someone who didn't quite, a pet who didn't quite make it.
I know, but there's a more gentle term for that.
Yes.
But I don't know if it's from your organization or not, but are there dogs that don't make it and then are they adopted out? Or do you, Adam and Jen, have like 5 pets of your own now?
Yeah. So we have, it's release dog is the gentler term.
Release dog.
Release
That's
dogs,
it.
yeah.
Thank
So they've
you.
been released from the program.
That's right. I
So-
didn't want to use reject because
Or
I knew it was a more
failure.
gentle. Yeah.
Yeah, so with our program, the majority of our dogs do graduate, which is fantastic. So that number, of course, can fluctuate over the years, but more than 50% do graduate in some category of placement. If a dog were released from the program, it could be any number of things. Maybe they have a really strong prey drive, for example, or a lack of a work ethic to do the skills that we need them to do.
That's a good one.
I got that going on.
I'm not working.
I got a
Yeah.
food-driven one.
I'm on welfare. I'm not working.
Like literally checks my pocket to make sure I have the kibble for when we go out and learn to heal. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
Are
dogs
you
like that,
sure?
they're still, they're fantastic dogs. They just might not be appropriate for our program.
Sure.
So they could go on to do therapy dog work where they're
Oh.
more like visitation in a role like that, or that we would give the puppy raiser, so the person who had the dog for the first year and a half, they would have the ability to formally adopt the dog as their pet dog. And then we also have a list for people, maybe they're connected with the organization, our donors, longtime volunteers, who could also be considered to adopt a release dog. But those are the minority because, again, the majority
Sure.
do graduate from the program.
So the trainers, the dog trainer, they're trained, I'm assuming, by your program, or do they take some kind of dog training class? I don't know how that works.
Sure, yeah. So I could tell you for me, it is an apprenticeship to go through. And so if someone was coming to Canine Companions outside of this field or, new to the organization, they might start as an apprentice or an instructor assistant where you get hands-on training, working in the kennels, working with the veterinary team, getting to know the program. And then there's an apprenticeship that could take a few years to go through. So it could be anywhere from 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
Where you're, in the beginning, you're under the tutelage of a senior instructor who can work with you every day to teach those skills and to train the skills that we need. And then over time, you would, of course, get more experience, more confidence. But it is done within our program. So there's multiple levels of apprenticeships. If someone was coming to Canine Companions, maybe they have some training background or experience with a different organization, they might be able to come a little bit higher in the apprenticeship and start there, but they would continually work until they're a certified instructor.
Wow. So let's get back to fundraising. Do you have events, fundraising events? Do you depend on corporate funding, federal funding? God
I read,
forbid?
Janet, that Anheuser-Busch was responsible for your
It was
Southeast
Anheuser-Busch for
facility.
the
Is that true,
facility,
Adam?
and somebody else. There's Anheuser-Busch and
So
And a SeaWorld.
Yeah,
SeaWorld,
so
that's it.
yes, so some background on that. So basically, our campus was founded around 1989. We actually started off in a tent, doing all the trainings and things like that. Yeah, so we've really grown since then. The campus we are on currently was opened in 2000. So coincidentally, this is also our campus's 25th
Yeah.
anniversary. So we're really excited for that. But as far as the SeaWorld connection, so we had basically 4 groups of people come together to fund our campus. It was a $4 million project. So SeaWorld used to be owned by Anheuser-Busch, which is kind of that connection there.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but SeaWorld is a great supporter. They've hosted graduation ceremonies with us, galas, and just everything. So yeah, we have an 8-acre campus, and that includes, our training facility, the kennels, and then the dorms where our graduates stay.
Is that in Orlando? Right in Orlando?
Yes, we're off Barcona Ocoee Road, kind of like in the Apopka
Okay.
area, Ocoee.
Wow.
So do you have state and federal grants, or is your money private?
So pretty much all straight donations. So we do have a grant specialist position that does reach out to larger organizations and things for grants, but we primarily rely on fundraisers. So we have a number of events throughout the year. Actually, we're getting ready for one coming up on March 8th called Dogfest.
Oh, I saw that, Janet. I saw that. Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah, so Dogfest is really great. It's a peer-to-peer fundraising event. So we encourage teams to go out and support Canine Companions, start your team, fundraise to get incentive prizes and goals and things like that. And then the whole day kind of culminates at Dogfest. So that's happening on March 8th at Shady Park in Winter Park.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
So we'll have DJs
What
and
is the-
games and all sorts of fun stuff for dog lovers.
Blue Buffalo Natural Veterinary Diets offer a natural alternative in nutritional therapy. With their in-house research and development team with over 300 years experience in well pet and veterinary therapeutic diets, more than 600 scientific publications, and more than 50 U.S. patents. Blue Buffalo Natural Veterinary Diets.
As a veterinary dermatologist, I can tell you that the chronically affected allergic pet condition, also known as atopic dermatitis, is rarely ever cured, but it can be effectively managed. Command Deep Cleansing Shampoo from Vetramax is a top veterinarian prescribed treatment for skin problems resulting from chronic itch, pyoderma, and allergic dermatitis.
I like to use what my veterinarian tells me to use, which is Command Shampoo by Vetramax. It's super gentle on the skin and tough on that nasty unwanted bacteria. Libby smells great, she looks great, and she loves it.
Vetramax makes practicing veterinary medicine better by giving doctors high-performing, high-value, evidence-based products. Now, with Command Shampoo, you can bring that same quality into your regular home routine. Go to Chewy.com and enter promo code VetramaX15 to save 15% off on Vetramax Command Deep Cleansing Shampoo. Vetramax makes it better. Hey everyone, don't forget to pick up Country Critter Journal if you live in Northeast Ohio. It's a must-read for all pet lovers. Their goal is similar to ours here at the podcast, to educate the community on taking care of pets. They're advocates for adopting from shelters, not puppy mills, and they connect our local communities with goods, services, kennels, and those seeking to adopt a pet. They're a hometown paper with a personal touch. A must-read for all pet lovers, Country Critter Journal. What is the most unusual task that you've had to train a dog to do?
I always thinking that, because I've seen like in restaurants, people go under, and the dog goes under their leg, or on an airplane, things like that. So what is the strangest, task?
I mean, I can come up with one, Jen.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Please,
All right.
please.
Honestly, my favorite is called Hurry, which basically makes the dog use the restroom, and basically relieve themselves.
Like
Because-
on demand.
Yeah.
Huh.
And that's, for someone who's, hard of walking or not be able to
Sure.
hold something for long, making sure the dog is able to, toilet when appropriate and things like that.
And it's called what? Hurry?
Hurry.
Hey, Libby, we
Yeah.
got to work on that one.
Yeah, and I can speak to that one. So it's a gentler term, if you're thinking of someone being out in public,
Right.
you might not want to use other words to tell the dog to go to the bathroom
Right.
or go tinkle or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. So it's a helpful phrase. Say it's not a magic word. It doesn't mean the dog will go, but it lets the dog know that this is an appropriate time and place. And so
Let
you're
her rip,
free to,
right?
yeah, you're free to go.
Wow. So one of my sister-in-law's brother has a large dog. I think it's a Dane, a Great Dane, that he has an issue where he passes out, and the dog kind of blocks him from hurting himself, and that just fascinates me that dog can anticipate that need. It's just amazing, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great example of a style of training or a type of training where a dog is either a medical alert or a medical response dog. So that falls outside of our training,
Right.
Canine Companions, but it's remarkable to see the dogs that can pick up. Sometimes it's a chemical change in the body that the dog's aware of through scent.
Yeah.
And then can alert the person that an episode is impending. Or, like you said, be more of an intervention where something's happened and the dog knows to intervene on behalf of the handler, whether that's to protect or to go get help or to bring medication, all kinds of things in a situation like that. For our program, for Canine Companions, an adage that we sometimes use is that the dogs are responsive but not responsible.
Right.
Meaning that it's the handler that decides what the dog is going to do next
Right.
and then tells the dog, and the dog is waiting for that cue or that prompt, versus the dog being more of an intervention or making a decision for the handler. But they know more than 40 different cues or tasks that they can learn. And so a lot of times it's fun to see graduates who will take a combination of skills and chain them together to create one big behavior. So it could be going to the refrigerator and getting medication out and bringing it back and closing the refrigerator behind them, or a series of steps that they chain together so that it can be one big helpful task for the graduate.
Wow. Do
I
they
love
put their
that they're called
dishes?
graduates.
Wait, do they put their dishes in the dishwasher versus in the sink?
They can. I've seen
Please
it.
on.
I know you're
Please
joking,
on.
but they can.
That makes me nuts. That's amazing.
I have to tell you, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before about Hero, which was a service dog that I used to see for his skin that was owned by a veteran, and he was a giant schnauzer, and he was like real fun and everything, and as the gentleman was leaving, because I don't like to get too personal, and I said, I'm just curious. I know he's a service dog for you, but what exactly does he do? Because he was just like a 80-pound puppy, all over the place and fun. And he said, well, I can't allow anyone to get behind me. And that's
Oh.
But a shout out to Blue Buffalo. They are providing food for the rest of that dog's life. Every month I get an email saying, yep, Hero's food was sent. So I appreciate
And
that.
giant schnauzer just won Westminster.
Oh, I saw that. Yes, I saw that. Adam, with your background in marketing, this must be like a dream come true.
Fun.
Marketing that involves fabulous dogs.
Yeah, and not just the dogs, just the people who come in and get the dogs too. It's so rewarding one of my favorite things to do, honestly, is just to get lunches with our teams when they're here in team training, just to learn about them and just learn about their stories and just, their needs of why they want a dog, how they heard about the program, and just being able to tell their story when they, after they graduate is really rewarding.
And probably how thankful they are to get a dog.
Yeah,
It's got to be life-changing.
Yeah. So actually, a couple of years ago, when I first started back in November, I met someone. His name is Bailey, and he was in a car accident when he was a teenager. Just paralyzed from the waist down. And now he matched with his service dog Nestle, and
Nestle.
him and Nestle are best friends now. And he was able to graduate college with Nestle, and it's just so rewarding to give another chance to someone and be able to tell their story and just really interact with them and things like that. And Bailey was actually our guest speaker at our gala last year, so we got to really impact and tell his story, and people got to see him and Nestle in action, and it was very rewarding to work on
I
that.
hope Nestle got a diploma when Bailey graduated. You know how you see that occasionally?
Yeah.
So what happens to when, God forbid, one of the therapy dogs passes away? How, not to mention how horrible that must be for the owner, but do they go on to get another dog?
Yeah, so we call them, their term we use is successor teams.
Successor team.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, after, we kind of work with each of our graduates. That's kind of also what makes Canine Companions special is every year we do follow-ups and checks with all of our teams to make sure dogs are healthy, the person's healthy, making sure the match is still what they need for. But, when a pet does pass, it's very emotional. So when our teams are ready, they are able to basically apply to be a successor team. So they're able to get a dog fairly fast so they can go back to that independent lifestyle they were used to having before.
Wow. So you have to have these dogs queued up. You know what I mean? Like ready to go.
Yeah, so both programs are operating simultaneously. That the dogs are being trained, they're being raised by puppy raisers, trained with our professional team here on campus. And then we also have a full staff working on the people side with our applicants and then bring those two things together. So that's the goal is, as we're interviewing, as we're working with our people, that we're also continually having that supply of dogs coming through so that they're ready to go through team training too.
Now, Jen, what makes you so passionate about your work?
Yeah, that's a great question.
And you've been affiliated with them a long time.
Yeah, you started as a volunteer.
I did, yeah. I volunteered with the organization. Actually, I was on campus when they opened this campus and dedicated back in 2000. So I was back in high school back then and got to volunteer. I would come out and help out in the kennels and bathe dogs and scoop poop and do anything they would let me do for a while.
Poop is very important.
It is, because when you have a dog that has a normal poop, it's a good day.
It's a good day.
Yes.
Or like Alice's dog consumes, so I'll be on the phone. She goes, "I gotta go. She pooped," and hangs up on me.
Yeah, because one of my rescues from the Amish eats her poop, so I got to get right out.
It's an
there.
emergency.
Here we leash walk them in Sanibel, so I'm there.
Yeah.
You're ready.
So you started as a volunteer. Wow.
Yeah.
I did, yeah. It was part of a high school class that I took.
Oh, cool.
And I kind of joke it was the best class ever because I got to leave campus and go job shadow and follow someone who was a puppy raiser for the organization. But to your question about the passion, I would echo what Adam says is, the adage here is that, you come for the dogs, but you stay for the people. And getting to meet the people that we work with is just a privilege to walk alongside them. And because I've been here so long, I get to work with people that are on their successor dogs. And actually, just this morning, I talked to somebody that I met 12 years ago in the program. And so getting to see just how the dog is helping them. And a lot of times it might be a fairly simple task, like pushing a button for the elevator or picking up your keys. But you imagine if you didn't have the dog to do that, maybe that means you're relying on a stranger or having to make a phone call, or there's just a delay in your day where it's a very simple task that the dog could do it for you in 5 seconds and you're right back on your way. And I think just the camaraderie that we see our dogs and people having together, that friendship, that companionship, a lot of times it goes beyond just the task. If you interviewed our graduates, there's also that social component, being back out in the community, having a very easy topic of conversation when you're out because people are curious, they want to ask about the dog, and really just opening doors for them to pursue their goals and go about their life with more independence. And so hence the name Canine Companions for Independence, allowing them to lead lives of greater independence.
So with the Janet, I want to ask at the upcoming fundraiser, will you have a lot of former graduates that just come for the heck of it just to see you all?
Yeah, our graduates are very supportive in all of our events. And, we're kind of one big family. So, everyone loves to support everyone.
Yeah.
So do you have advice for the general population? Like, I know when I see a service dog to steer clear, let them do.
Oh, good thinking.
So what tips are there for, John Q. public when you see the dog on the plane or in the doctor's office or wherever you are?
And what is the mark of a true service dog?
Oh, what defines it? Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, so basically, I'll do a little crash course here. So there's essentially 3 levels that we like to say. So the first level is service dog, right? So service dogs are accredited. They should be accredited dogs that are able to access public places and give people with disabilities right of access. So legally, businesses can only ask the person with the dog, is this a service dog? And what are they trained to help with your disability? So those are legally the two questions, right? So if the
Right.
dog does anything outside that scope, then the business has the right to remove them from site and things like that.
Okay.
Then there's facility dogs, which we also do here on campus. So facility dogs work full-time in hospitals. So they are working with patients. Usually their handler is a doctor or some sort of healthcare professional. And I've seen things where, they'll throw a ball. They'll have patients throw a ball and the dog will go get it. They can use it for support as well. Cover is another really popular task, which basically the dog kind of lays on the person. It applies this like deep pressure kind of therapy. So it's very therapeutic and relaxing. And a lot of our facility dog teams do very inventive things for people with limited mobility and trying to get back with their rehab programs and things like that. And then facility dogs don't have that right of access. So, Dr. Joe goes off, works a full day with her facility dog and decides to go to the supermarket. She can't legally take that facility dog in because it is not an accredited service dog per se. But the facility dogs know all the service dog tasks, essentially.
Okay.
So who accredits? Where do you get the accreditation if you have a service dog?
So
I'm assuming at a program like yours, but
Yeah, so we work with a group called Assistance Dog International, ADI for short, and it's basically a conglomeration of accredited service dogs groups that come together and they certify us to place service dogs.
so the person I see that has the collar or the leash that has service
Or the-
dog
or the-
embroidered on
the
it, and they
little
got it on
jacket.
Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really a service dog.
Probably not, but that's part of why we do what we
Yeah.
do, and we're
Yeah.
very much advocates for our graduates and our dogs here at Canine
Wow.
Companions. So, that's it's basically kind of looking and evaluating each on a case by case basis.
Wow.
And I would just add too, the law does recognize self-trained training. So if
I was going
someone,
to ask you about that.
yeah, so legally a person could train their own service dog. There's not a set requirement for the breed of the dog. There's a multitude of tasks. And so we always encourage someone look at the behavior of the dog as indicative of their training more so than a size or a breed. I think sometimes people might be quick to make an assumption
Sure.
about a dog that they see in public, and so sometimes there could be a hidden disability, or there could be
Yeah.
other tasks that the dog is doing or is prepared to do, even if you don't see the dog acting on it. So, like for example, your friend with the medical alert
Right,
training, that dog might not be acting to fill out those tasks right in the moment, but they're ready to
But they're
do
ready
so
to
if
do
called
so.
upon.
Wow, that's
So if
fascinating.
Janet's friend's dog, could that dog be allowed into a restaurant with her friend if there was no evidence of, not that the jacket makes, or the vest makes it legal. You see what I'm saying? I guess,
Yeah. So the law, when we refer to the law, there's the Americans with Disabilities Act, and there are a few other laws that, of course, pertain to service dogs, but usually we go back to the federal law, Americans with
Okay.
Disabilities Act. So under the ADA, there's not a requirement for someone to have the dog in a specific kind of gear.
okay.
Or even to demonstrate the skill set that the dog has been trained to do. So like Adam was saying, the place of business could ask those two questions, and then we would encourage them to act in good faith that the person has answered
Okay.
the question,
Yeah.
and then allow them access. There are some things that, whether it's a service dog or not, if a dog were aggressive, for example,
Right.
of course, then the business would have every right to remove the dog or ask the
Right.
dog be removed from that premises. But no, the law doesn't require any specific kind of
Okay.
equipment, because it wants to allow the greatest access for the greatest number of people.
It's a good
And I think that, I was reading a story about a dog that got aggressive with someone on a plane because someone was, you probably have all read that, someone claimed that it was their emotional support dog when they were allowing that. And I thought, this is going to open up a big can of worms.
Well, didn't someone
because
take a
people-
freaking peacock on a plane or something as their
A
emotional
turkey.
support?
Turkey.
You got to be
Turkey.
kidding me.
Yeah, but I wouldn't, at least a turkey probably doesn't get aggressive like this dog got.
Oh,
It bit somebody.
hey, I've got wild turkeys in my yard. They're
I know.
crazy.
All right. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, well,
Go
I was
ahead,
going to
Jen.
say, you kind of alluded to it with the changes there. So with the airline industry,
Yeah.
years ago you could have an emotional support animal.
Yeah.
Now they have aligned, so the Air Carriers Access Act has aligned more with the ADA, and so they are being more particular about the dogs
Good.
that are on board and recognizing the training of a service dog to be in cabin.
Do you have to buy them a ticket if they're a certified service dog? Do they fly free? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so you would not have to buy an additional ticket. We always encourage our graduates, call ahead, have a conversation with
Oh,
someone.
okay.
Most times if there is an empty seat on the flight, they would allow you to have that space, but the dog could certainly fly at your feet.
Okay.
So because of the air regulations, the dog could not be in the aisle, they can't be on the seat, but they would be in the floorboard at the person's
right.
feet.
Okay, so I have a question. If someone's interested in volunteering, how do they go about that?
Good question.
Yeah.
Former volunteer director and fundraiser.
Yeah, absolutely. There are multiple number of opportunities for people to volunteer and get involved in any capacity. So we really encourage people to visit our website, canine.org, to learn more about volunteer opportunities. There's an application you would fill out, and then our volunteer coordinator does a personal interview, and then there's a training to get you familiar with the brand, our logos, our guidelines, and all that fun stuff. And from there, we have our own platform called Volunteer Hub, where it's a very active website where people can sign up for volunteerships and things like that.
Yep.
And, it can be anything, right? It can be working at the front desk here in administration to help with dog walking or helping out our events and tear down and set up
Scoop
and
and
things
poop.
like that. Scoop and poop. Always very important.
That's
Yeah, but that's how
fantastic.
Jen got started as a volunteer.
Yeah.
In high school, for gosh sake.
And look where you are now.
Really? Living the
Were you-
dream.
Were you volunteering in Florida or California?
In Florida,
Florida.
yeah, I actually grew up about an hour and a half from here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool. You know what I love about Florida? That you can take your dog anywhere here. It's so refreshing. Like to go to Home Depot and see, although I did see a dog lifting his leg the other day in Home Depot. And I was like, nah, not my dog,
I'm in Connecticut, and I take her to Home Depot.
Not in Ohio, when I'm back in Ohio.
Oh,
They're
people have
real
them in the
uptight about
restaurants
that.
here. We were in Central Park at the Boathouse last weekend having a fabulous lunch, and there was the most beautiful golden under the woman's chair. And the whole time I'm like, oh, it's sitting up now. Oh, she's begging. Like I was like giving a play-by-play because the dog was so adorable and very well
Yeah.
behaved.
Yeah.
Very well behaved. Gave Libby a run for her money.
Yeah, I mean,
So
if
I
your
wanna
business
know
is
what-
comfortable, you're more than welcome to have them in your place of
That's
employment.
great.
So
Are you guys allowed to bring your pets to work?
We are, yeah. So my dog Fozzie is hanging out in my office right now. That's one of the perks, of course, of working at Canine Companions. And there's still rules. They have to go through a temperament evaluation and be cleared to be on campus. But yes, so Fozzie will go walk up and down campus. He's a great distraction dog for the dogs that are in professional training, so they can practice around a dog that looks very different than
So
they do.
he has a job.
What kind of dog is Fozzie?
He's a rescue, so I don't know for sure, but I would bet money he's a red bone coonhound. If you look up their temperament description, he matches it to a T. So
I
Where's
love it.
He's a
Fozzie
cute-
right now? Can Fozzie come on screen?
Oh, well, I'm actually in a different office. He's about 2 doors down. I could bring him, though, if you'd
We
like
would
me
love
to.
that.
So Adam, we're going to ask you our guest question. What is your pet or human peeve? Feel free to elaborate. Oh, come on. It can be anything
Oh my
like people
gosh.
don't put their blinkers on. I saw 2 people run red light or stop
Oh
signs
my
today.
God,
There's
is he
Fozzie.
Oh,
cute?
Fozzie's a beauty. Hi,
Hi,
Foz.
Foz.
Hey, you.
Here
Hi,
he
Foz.
is.
Oh, he's very
look who
dignified.
came. My
Look,
dog
he's
just
very
came.
dignified.
Oh, he does. He looks a little worried, though.
He's like, what are we doing?
I know.
I was
he's
just
a little
taking a nap. I
concerned.
woke him up.
Oh, you woke
Oh,
So, Adam, you haven't answered our question. Don't tell Jen. We have a question for you, Jen. But hold on.
Oh, okay.
I would say, I don't know, I'm a very clean person. So when things are not clean or organized, it kind of stresses me out.
I like that too.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Don't look in your earbuds.
Yeah. Oh,
oh.
no, I go to a lot of concerts and stuff, so I'm always having earplugs with me, and I clean them off after every show. So yeah,
It's
I
like
get
so
that.
gross. Okay, so Jen, what is your pet or human peeve? And I have to let my pet friend out, so keep talking.
My pet peeve, I'm kind of a neat freak too, like Adam. I would say when things go off of schedule. Like I love being spontaneous and having fun, but if there's a schedule involved, I want to stick to
You
it.
stick to it.
I love that. I prided myself on never having people wait. I was always on time. And I'll tell you one of
You know
the,
why that is? Because Daddy.
yeah, he was always on time.
He was
But
always on time. He was always like
but
5 or 10 minutes early.
There's two sayings. My mentor once said, and he's true, better never than late.
Yep.
If you're going to be late, don't even come. And second of all, if someone calls and says, well, I'm running a little bit late, that does nothing for me.
Right.
Because that puts me back 15 minutes for the next appointment who's there on time. You see what I'm saying? I have a question about food. Being a dermatologist and allergist, and we get food allergic dogs. Do all of the dogs in the program eat the same brand of food?
Yes, we have a great partnership with Eukanuba.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you have a team of veterinarians that help you out, that do regular visits and
Yeah, we do. So Canine Companions has a few veterinarians on staff that work at our national headquarters in Santa Rosa, California. And so they are reviewing, medical information for the litters across the regions. And then we also have a few local veterinarians that have been wonderful to us here at the Southeast region, and they will come on campus. We also have 2 facilities that we'll work with closely if we needed to make a call. If a dog needed to be seen today, they would certainly allow us to bring the dog to their clinic as well. And they can often be in collaboration too. So we have our local veterinarians that volunteer their time to be here on campus and our wonderful support. And then we also have our staff veterinarians that work at national or at headquarters.
where do those litters come from?
We have our own breeding program. Wow. So at headquarters, there's the Canine Early Development Center. And so there are breeder caretakers. There are people who are working with the youngest of the puppies for those first 8 weeks to even begin socializing and exercises with them as they are getting ready to be partnered with their puppy raiser.
So it is cradle to career is what we call that in the nonprofit world for humans. So it really is from puppy to retiree. That's amazing.
I have a question. We had Dr. Karen Tobias on last week. She's a veterinary surgeon at UT Knoxville.
Fascinating.
And the discussion was about this new talk about not neutering or spaying certain breeds till after they go through a heat. What are you guys doing with that?
Yeah, so the majority of our dogs will be spayed or neutered in the puppy home. There are some that may remain intact until turn into professional training, especially those that might be our full Goldens or full retrievers because of the, full labs or full Goldens because of the breeding program. So some of our dogs will be selected as breeders and they go back to headquarters to be a breeder dog. Okay. So I know our veterinary team does a lot of research and a lot of study as we're making decisions organizationally about best practices. And so, certainly taking those things into consideration to identify what's the best time.
Yeah,
for our
it's
dogs.
still being discussed. I mean, there's pros and cons, and I just, it's funny, I just read something this morning that kind of disputed some of the potential benefits of waiting. So the more I read, I thought, hey, this thing has got to be figured out. And I think it can come down on an individual basis, too. So, to be continued.
Well, Al, we got to wrap it up.
Oh.
This has been so enjoyable.
Janet, I would love to go to their fundraiser.
I would love to go to the fundraiser. I would like to come and visit that huge campus.
Yeah,
Come on down.
We do tours regularly, so anytime you ever want to come down for a
tour.
tour,
I would love that.
Anyway, we digress. Thank you. Thank you for the amazing work you do, not only for pets, but for humans. I mean, it's really worthwhile work. Wow, I'm really honored that you have joined us, and I hope our listeners have learned a lot. We'll put a lot of your information up on our screen.
Yeah, and their website, because I'm telling you, it's really a good website for knowledge.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's great to be with you. And yes, absolutely. If someone's interested in applying for a dog or volunteering, learning more about the program, the website is a great place to start. And then, of course, we'd be happy to talk with them in more detail and see how we can connect.
That's great.
And we got to hear from Adam when he adopts a dog.
Yeah, we want to know
I
all
can
about
see
it.
he needs one.
Yes.
Riley's going to send you somebody. I know
Oh,
it. Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so
Well,
much again
this
for
is-
having us today.
Oh, and listen, our
Our
pleasure. Janet, let's wrap it up. This is Dr. Alice Novotny-Droman from Cleveland, Ohio, and
Janet Novotny King from Cleveland, Ohio, saying thank you for listening. Hope you learned a lot today. Hug and kiss your pets for us and extra biscuits for all. So thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
bye.
Thanks for tuning in today. We hope you learned some valuable information about making decisions about your pet's health.
And don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe on podcasts because we love to have those likes. Thanks so much for listening.
That's actually really good.
Oh,
you
good.
could both go bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, yeah.
How about woof woof?
This episode of Speaking of Pets podcast was sponsored by Blue Buffalo Veterinary Diets. Love them like family, feed them like family. And Vetramax Veterinary Supply. Vetramax makes it better. Follow us on social at Speaking of Pets and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
The Speaking of Pets podcast is an SLA video production.